May, and we're still doing that up into this month. The other thing we do about the three-prong approach is we do gleaning. I work with Harvest Pierce County. We do tree gleaning, field gleaning from different farms around the area. Last year, it was about 10 tons, and that's what we do in our food security. The next slide. Okay, now our food distribution. So far this year, since May, we've distributed out 130 tons of farm to family boxes. Next slide. This is where we were at in May when we started out. You can see there's a U-Haul truck there. I rented a U-Haul truck. We loaded it up with as many potatoes and onions as we possibly could. And we brought that back to Tacoma. You might have seen the article that was in Tacoma Weekly with the truckload that we brought in. It was 32,000 pounds of just potatoes and onions, and we started giving that away. That's where we began our food distribution. Next slide, please. And then in June, we started using a trailer, bringing back, it was probably about 4 to 5 tons every week that we would bring back. And it began to get more and more people coming and picking up. We started giving away, the 4 tons would last 2 days. But then we started moving on to more. Next slide. This is a scene from July, where we started doing convoys. We started using multiple trucks and trailers, bringing in more and more tons of food. This right here is about 15 tons. It was laying in my front yard that we gave away within about 3 days. Next slide. And this is what we're doing this week. 38,000 pounds. It's a full semi-load. This comes in, it's over 200 of those farm to family boxes. This is part of the USDA program, the farm to family boxes. We give that away. That's gone in about 8 hours now. So we're giving away a lot of food. It's coming out really quickly. It's really making a difference. I've got people driving all over Tacoma, just giving people food. They'll pull into parking lots and see people and just drop food off to them. Go to daycares, go to their neighbors that are shut in. Because of COVID, a lot of the seniors aren't getting out right now. So people bring it over to their neighbors, and they're just giving this food away. It's going really quickly. It's been a real success. Next slide. Okay, then in gleaning. You can see we did a big harvest here. I work with Harvest Pierce County. So we do, I'm the branch leader for downtown and for east side. So we do gleaning for those trees they're registered with Harvest Pierce County. I also do gleaning through Food is Free as well for people that haven't signed up for trees. Last year it was 15 tons that we were able to glean. This year it should be a little less because we don't have volunteers this year. Because of the COVID, we cut back on volunteers. Next slide. All right, gardens for the people. We had 10 gardens last year. This year I built 22 gardens. So we have 22 gardens around Tacoma, or 32 gardens around Tacoma, with 74 of the sharing tables. You can see the sharing tables are just set out in front. They're right by the sidewalk, where everybody can come up and enjoy and get fresh fruit and vegetables. And then we partner with the city of Tacoma with all of our tag oil that goes in our beds, and we built quite a few of them. Next slide. Okay, the one thing I want to explain to everybody is we're going to be forming Food is Free Washington. Food is Free Washington will be the fiscal sponsor for all the Food is Free chapters. We have Food is Free Tacoma, Food is Free Puyallup, Food is Free Lakewood, Food is Free Eatonville. These are growing very quickly. What a fiscal sponsor does is it allows people to have grants tax deduction, and we'll be having a 5% charge. You go to the next slide. What a fiscal sponsorship does is it lends tax and legal liability to the smaller chapters. There'll be a 5% donation to pay for the accountant, the lawyer, and the insurance, and we'll require a general liability insurance policy. But Food is Free is growing very quickly. We have 17 tables in Puyallup. There's 4 tables in Lakewood right now, over 70 in Tacoma, and Eatonville has 2. Growing very quickly. We'll see it. There's University Place, Food is Free as well. We're seeing it grow all over the area. So Food is Free Washington will be that umbrella group that will take care of all of that. Next slide. And that's about it. You know, there's my saying is together we can do this, because I think if all of us work together, we can make this happen. We can bring a food security back to our neighborhoods, get it away from the big corporations and bring it back to our small selves. And then I use John Van Duzen's quote right here is the last thing, is because it's really important. Is never underestimate your power to inspire. Even your smallest actions will ripple outwards. So even the smallest little things that you do will really make a difference in our community. So never underestimate that power to inspire. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, David. That was very cool. I knew about the program, but didn't realize just how much food you guys were providing around there. That was really, really awesome. And the Food is Free Washington is, I'm excited to see how that goes. So please keep us updated on the process there.
David, do you know how one person can get involved with that project? Like a community member?
Well, yeah, we've got a lot of volunteer opportunities. Right now, the farm to family boxes are going to be shut down for a month, but we'll begin back up in October. So every Friday, we'll get a truckload in. So we have help unloading, and we deliver to all the tables. So we need help doing that. I'm also looking for a garden coordinator to coordinate against the 32 gardens that we have, and then get a group of people together to tend those gardens. Even though they are tended by the homeowners, they need a little extra help. We need just to go through and just check on everything. So yeah, I have a lot of opportunities available. Just send me a message or email me at davidthompson@foodisfree253.com.
Great question. Thanks, Kyle. Are there any other questions for David at this time? Okay, with that, we're going to turn it over to Kyle Lee from WSU's Pierce County Extension. Same thing, Kyle, you want me to pull up the presentation on my end?
Sarah?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I mute myself and try to talk, and no faces, only flower. David, I just want to let you know that the 2 tables have been set up in here in Capitol Heights, and 2 more in Fern Hill area, and 2 in the Blueberry Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Well, so Kyle, same thing. I'll pull up the presentation and click through it for you. Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. Hi, everyone, again. And thank you, Sarah, for hosting this event. So again, my name is Kyle. I am the SNAP Ed Program Coordinator for Washington State University, Pierce County Extension. And also on this Zoom is my supervisor, Linda Matthews. She's the SNAP Ed Program Manager. And so throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, I encourage you to use that chat box feature, and we will do our best to answer these questions. Also, Ulysses is here too, so he could probably answer some SNAP Ed related questions too. All right, so anyways, for my time, I'm gonna, give an overview of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and then how COVID-19 has kind of impacted and affected that programming. Two, I'm gonna talk about food access within the farmers markets, and then also how COVID-19 has impacted retail options. And then I'll touch briefly on food distribution sites, and I'll close out with highlighting a SNAP-Ed website. All right, next slide. Cool, so I just wanted to put this slide on here to give a brief overview of how SNAP-Ed kind of works within Washington State. So the goal of SNAP-Ed, the federal goal, right, is to improve and this is in quotes, to improve the likelihood that persons eligible for SNAP benefits, that they have access to make sure that the healthy choice is the easy choice. And I think I goofed that up, but you guys understand the point, right? And so within Washington State, if you want to click, there are 3 agencies, local agencies, and they are us, WSU Pierce County, Multicare, and Tacoma Public Health Department. And together we work to create programs that support the mission statement of the Department of Health, because that's how the funding stream works, as you can see in the graphic there. All right, next slide. Cool. So within Washington State for SNAP-Ed, the public health approaches and community health approaches can fall under 3 different types of interventions, right? Click. They are direct education, health promotion, and a systems-based programming, and those can work either just one on its own, or we can use them together to form collaborative partnerships. Yeah. Next. Cool. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what basic food is. And Sarah, if you just want to click maybe a couple of times. Yeah. Cool. So maybe some of you all know what basic food is, maybe you don't, but this is just a general overview, right? So in Washington State, this is, or nationwide, basic food is called the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, formerly known as food stamps. And in Washington State, we use basic food to mean SNAP. EBT is known as the Electronic Benefits Transfer Card, and it works just like a debit card. Once you get approved, the DSHS will issue a debit card, the EBT. And so with the process, you have to apply. So there's an application process, then a phone interview, and then you should supply some documentation, and then you'll get issued your EBT card. That's kind of the general process of how it works. The 4th bullet point, if you do get approved for EBT, then there are some eligibility stuff that you are qualified for other public assistance programs, and then click again once more. And I do want to mention that basic food is now considered a public charge determination. And if you have more information, or if you want to know more information about basic food, there's a link there that's provided. The slide below, or the graphic below, just kind of shows the income qualifications, and that's one eligibility criteria for basic food. All right, next. Right, so like I said with my previous slide, the pandemic EBT is just one of those benefits that you can get if you are approved for basic food, right? So this just is a flow chart that shows how families can receive an EBT card, but if you qualified for basic food already, then this sort of I guess the public assistance was already automatically applied to your EBT card at the start. Yeah. I will say though, if you know of anyone that still needs to apply for pandemic EBT, and while this isn't SNAP related, I think it's still relevant for food access. You can still do so by going to the washingtonconnection.org, and the application has been extended to September 11th. Previously, it was the end of this month, or today. Whoa, yeah. Cool. All right, whoa. So I want to talk here about the impact that COVID-19 has had on SNAP programming, and this kind of has a trickle-down effect, right, into the other food access-based programs. So there are three that are three overall arching ones. You can click twice again, Sarah. The first one is everything is virtual now, right? So community service offices, that's the place where you typically would get assistance in person. Those offices are closed. So if you needed to apply for SNAP, what you would have to do is either do it over the phone, so complete your application over the phone, or complete it online. All right, so two, since COVID-19 has happened, the work requirements are currently suspended, and there are specific limitations associated with getting SNAP, but one of them was work requirements. That's been suspended for the time being, but once things start back up again, that would probably be renewed. Again, phone interviews have replaced face-to-face interactions for these basic food recipients. And then the last thing that I want to mention is emergency food allocation. So every month, and this happens on a month-to-month basis, DSHS applies for this sort of application process. And if the government grants them approval, then basic food recipients then get the maximum amount of benefits on their EBT card, and that's based on per household. And for the month of September, it was recently granted. So people who are EBT or who are basic food recipients will now get the maximum benefits per their household for the month of September. Do I have any questions so far? I feel like I'm talking a lot. So is that all understandable? Can I see a thumbs up for people? Yeah, okay, great. Next slide. Cool. I'm gonna transition now into food access within the farmers markets, right? So the one that is here is the statewide program called SNAP Market Match. And SNAP Market Match was previously known as Fresh Bucks in Pierce County. It's still called Fresh Bucks in Seattle because there's two separate programs, but for the purposes of Pierce County, SNAP Market Match is now what was previously known as Fresh Bucks. And this is a dollar match program for all farmers, for certain select participating farmers markets. But how it works is one, the SNAP shopper then goes to the information booth. Two, at the information booth, they have their EBT card, which I have one from when I did AmeriCorps. So then they ask the teller to take out a certain amount of money, and then that the teller will then give that customer tokens as well as SNAP Market Match paper dollars, which kind of look like the thing that's on the graphic here. And then for the customer can then use both the tokens and the dollars for a lot of fresh produce. Yeah. All right. I just want to stress here that, again, Fresh Bucks, now called SNAP Market Match, And the farmers market season is coming to a close for this year. So the markets that are highlighted here are ones that are currently, one, open, and two, accepting SNAP dollars, or SNAP Market Match, their participating stores, markets. Next. All right, this one is actually a very exciting development. So with COVID-19, right, the Tacoma's Farmers Market, they applied for this grant, and now they have the newest farmers market is called Fresh Express Mobile Market. And with the CARES Act funding, they are now able to supply farm fresh boxes, so that's produce and some protein, to households below the 400 federal poverty level. And they're in select locations across Pierce County. The priority for this is for those who have been disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And that includes older adults, low-income households, and people who are immunocompromised individuals. And then if you click again, Sarah, so this QR code here is links to the website for more information, including all of the participating locations. Great. All right, I'm going to transition now. I talked about farmers markets. Now I'm going to talk about retail within COVID-19. So this is a program that has been happening for quite some time now, called Complete Eats, and it is a program, a state-funded program that partners with all of Safeway, like corporate Safeway. So if a SNAP or a basic food recipient had an EBT card and a Safeway card, and they spent at least $10 worth of qualifying fruits and vegetables, they can then receive a $3 coupon, which looks like that. They can receive a $3 coupon at checkout. All right, next. Sometimes, though, there was some reports that that SNAP recipients haven't gotten their coupons. So if people run into issues with this, then the best thing they can do is to contact the email there or call the number that's listed on the bulleted point. And the reason why is DOH had partnered with corporate Safeway, and so what's not with the local Safeway retail stores. So there's that to keep in mind. Cool. All right, and the final slide for retail and food access is that the two big like powerhouses of stores, Amazon and Walmart, because of COVID-19, it's that process has been sped up. So what I mean by that is basic food recipients can now buy food using their EBT card through Amazon's 3 different stores and also online on Walmart. Yeah. And for this, because it's fairly new, there are some kinks that still need to be worked out. I will give that to you guys straight up. There's still some kinks that need to be worked out, but the facts are all there and linked below. And what's nice about this is it provides just another way for folks to use their EBT dollars on things that they want to purchase, right? But also another accessibility tool. Yeah. Next. All right. So I'm going to briefly touch on food banks and food pantry or sites. And so with COVID-19, all food banks, food pantries, they've been doing a lot of, they've been doing best practices for social distancing. So in the past, they used to have a lot of client-based shopping, but that's kind of switched now with COVID. So now there are 4 things that they've utilized. It's drive-through, curbside prepackaged bags or boxes. Certain food pantries do home deliveries now. And then some folks still do some food pantry sites still use the shopping model approach, but they've tailored it to make sure everyone is 6 feet away, and there's a lot of protocols that they have, like a lot of sanitation and a lot of protocols they have to do if they want to abide by the shopping model method. The picture to your left just shows what one resident or one community member might receive if they were to pick up an emergency food box. It would have some sort of protein. It would have, and underneath that is canned goods and non-perishable items. Yeah, stuff like rice, diced tomatoes, pasta. Yeah, it's a lot of assortments, sort of things. All right, next. Cool, and like I mentioned here, if you need to find your the most nearby food distribution site, you can use these 2 links provided in this PowerPoint. It'll direct you to the Emergency Food Network's mapping tool. And the second bulleted point is just another example of one. If you live outside of Pierce County, King County has also done a mapping tool. With home deliveries, there are 2 that I know of in Pierce County, and they are the Emergency Food Network and Eloise's Cooking Pot. So what you'd have to do here is to, you'd have to for Emergency Food Network, you'd have to fill out an online form, and a volunteer or somebody in the Emergency Food Network would then just call to confirm that you would like a emergency food box and to confirm your address, and then they will have a volunteer or one of their staff drop it off to your location. Cool, next. All right, this is the last part of my presentation. I wanted to touch on the Live Well website, which is Washington's very own SNAP-Ed website for the public. And here is where community members can find resources on how to cook certain meals. There's a lot of recipes involved here. You can find shopping tips, cooking suggestions, ways to eat together. There are a lot of suggestions on this Live Well website. There's also gardening tips and physical activity suggestions. It also has a food resource section that allows you to see different assistance programs that aren't necessarily related to just basic food. Okay, next slide. And what I want to mention on this slide is that this website is available in both English and Spanish. And in order to access the Spanish translations, what you'll have to do is when you visit the website, there's going to be a drop-down menu on the top right corner. From there, click on Spanish, and then the whole web page should be translated into Spanish. So if you know of some Spanish speakers, this would be a great opportunity for them. And the recipes are translated as well. Great. Next. Cool. All right, and that concludes what I have to present. If you have any questions, feel free to contact either Linda or myself. Our information is there. Next slide. And for future references, we have composed a lot of other links. So that's there for you all to check out as well.
Awesome. Do we have any questions for Kyle?
Yes, I do.
Great.
You know, I'm a SNAP recipient myself, and I go to the Proctor's Farmers Market, and I get the fresh bucks, and it's kind of a cool program, except for nobody takes the fresh bucks. Is that going to be changing, or?
Right. So with fresh or with that dollar or the what is it, SNAP match bucks, fresh bucks, they do require there are some limitations, right? And mainly it's those bucks are eligible just for fruits, vegetables, some spices, or some fresh herbs, mushrooms. Have you ran into issues purchasing those items, David?
Not really those items. I just wasn't sure what the parameters were of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
I understand.
I would share that the limitations then, because sometimes it can get lost in translation. So with the bucks itself, what you cannot, I think, purchase is stuff like meat or stuff like from the food trucks, if that makes sense.
Oh, right. Fair food. I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Ulysses or Linda, did you have anything to add with that? With what I said? No? Okay. Good question. Good question. Anyone else? Happy to answer anything. Okay.
Does it
I would
seem like
just ask Sarah, this is being recorded, right?
yes, it is.
Is this, so people can access the slides. The slides have a lot of information. And so if people want to go back and look at some of that stuff and, click on some of those links, they're certainly willing. We're certainly willing to answer any questions people might have if people want to call or email us. There's a lot of stuff and it's kind of complicated. So, and I hope people are able to take advantage of them and it makes sense. We've also had lots of requests for people to snip information from our slides, and we're okay with that. If there's a section of Kyle's presentation that people want, just let us.
Great. Thanks for asking that question, Linda. So we're recording it, and then also for participants who RSVP, we will be sending out an email that includes the copies of the slides, and then there's a few other resources that we invited to tonight's meeting. So somebody from Nourish Pierce County, and there's also a survey that Ulysses asked that I share. So those things will also go out in an email to people who RSVP'd, and then the recording will be shared on our YouTube channel and then available via social media for others to watch who weren't able to attend or who just happened across it. So thanks for asking that question. All right, well, I'm going to turn it over to Ulysses now. And Ulysses, I'll let you introduce yourself and your role title, and we'll pull up your presentation.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Yes. Thank you, Sarah, for asking the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department to participate in this food security topic with your particular Safe Streets constituents. And right now, the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department, as far as resources available to offer to this conversation, we don't have anything so robust as Food is Free or WSU. As far as Kyle is also a SNAP-Ed implementing agency, and so is the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. So my role at the health department is a health promotion coordinator under SNAP-Ed, nutrition, and physical activity. And for the sake of food security, we've been trying to work in previously food retail. So as you see the first slide here, envisioning and building an equitable, innovative, healthy community. it's really through a process of relationships and multi-sector partnerships is the goal, is to develop some resources, right? So, and this conversation sounds like it's been more about reactive efforts to COVID. We already know pre-COVID about the disparities between communities lacking employment, the burden of cost of living. So for the Tacoma and Pierce County Health Department at this time in our work to address food security, we don't have any particular really specific resources besides which Kyle has mentioned that is available at the state and local level through the SNAP-Ed efforts. Could I go to the second slide, please? So our current team, I left it as the Fresh Corner team, Tony Smith and myself. I came on board, just a little past, present, and future aspect of this presentation, real briefly. Again, taking over for Healthy Food Retail, as was the program at the Tacoma and Pierce County Health Department, really trying to see how to bring in healthier products into the corner store areas where people can access it. Due to a variety of factors of location-based or limited transportation and cost burden, how to get individuals access to actually, nutritious food is again the work that our agency has been charged to under SNAP-Ed. Next slide. And for, again, not maybe all the participants attending this presentation of what food systems are and what it's about, but really recognizing the health department's role and understanding like how does nutrition or food access and what type of healthy foods are available. We have to really understand the food system. So what this slide is kind of, for those who are more on the consumer side, making health promotion aspects to them to think about where are they at in their food system. And we've heard tonight about retail and farmers market. And I think we're all in the room to advocate that we have better access and better quality, but we have to really think about what is our current food system built on. So this is just a slide for the general population to take a look at. Next slide, please. A primary role that our agency has been charged with working diligently on, but really broad topic, not to go into specific details, but policies and systems and environmental changes. And these policies can be at the big national political policies or down to the policies in a local grocery store. Again, still looking at a food system or food environment in which food is accessible, whether if it's schools or corner stores, and then environmental conditions that might put some limitations. Again, we're in the Pacific Northwest, and we do have a robust agricultural side, but we're really working in an urban environment, so really taking into context how are people's nutrition and physical activity taking. I know it's not a physical activity conversation, but I always kind of add physical activity as because we're looking at the whole health of the person and really trying to find out what are the environmental conditions that will lead to better health outcomes for those individuals. And I know food access is one, but we want to question about what type of food is it, how healthy is it, how healthy is the food, how nutritious. And SNAP-Ed's work has been primarily been on focusing on increasing, of course, fruits and vegetables and decreasing consumption of sugars and salt and whatnot in specific foods in corner stores. Next slide. So again, this Fresh Corner project is something in transition of the past at the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. It's been a rescope. It's been efforts not wasted, but really understanding the capacity of the health department to support corner stores and providing healthier food options. It's really about food retail, and the corner stores really need to make money until there's a consumer demand for fresh produce and ability for corner stores to really make that available at a price, and the capacity of corner stores to really carry produce throughout retail and smaller corner stores. We'll have to revisit the corner store approach later, but right now we're transitioning from in 2020 to not focus on corner store food retail any longer. Next slide. Again, these ties into policy system environmental changes. For the sake, I'm not going to read exactly what this says, but it is being recorded, and that could be shared for individuals that may want to contact our agency. But these objectives still are relevant because we're really looking at a people's kind of approach to food retail. We know there's the food is free, is food procurement and redistribution, and there's SNAP resources that come to a limitation. So in inviting ideas with our agency about decentralized and more local autonomous retail may be something that we can advocate for if there's disparities in how people are actually finding the nutrition or finding the specific foods they want and who's participating in that food system model. These are just some topics to consider. Next. If, you know, this particular photo demonstrates that there is support for some places for small small corner stores, convenience stores that wouldn't mind carrying produce. But again, it becomes an idea of regulations, the store's capacity to carry produce to keep it, you know, fresh and viable. And then again, they're market-based, and you know, corner stores have to make $1 is what we've determined. And from our short experience working in food retail or corner stores as a health approach, you know, corner stores are reluctant to carry produce. If fruits and vegetables, if you want to have it gleaned and left there, their time has not demonstrated real support to carry, unless there's some agency support to bring maybe coolers, refrigeration, or resources. So there's a limitation that the health department has found in supporting corner stores and carrying fresh produce. As a process of food security, I think corner stores do carry food, but again, it comes to the question of how nutritious and how viable is the produce for people's health. Next slide. So in my short time, again, leading efforts at the Tacoma and Pierce County Health Department, and for us developing resources in the future, we've been moving forward on a new type of initiative within our agency that supports healthy, resilient children and youth under the health department, really focusing on kindergarten through approximately 7th grade. And it's a program that we're hoping to build out within our agency and within the community about nutritious and nurturing neighborhoods. And what that might lead into is the next slide, and what that might be able to demonstrate is food security. So in 2019, and I think 2018, 2019, this really took an approach for individuals who would be, again, EBT users or SNAP eligible audiences, envisioning how else, besides the current resources provided by the United States government and local agencies and resources, how else can individuals determine about self-sufficiency, or in essence, self-determining and looking at their local community as food is free has been demonstrating food resource development. And oftentimes we're speaking about, not oftentimes, but focusing on youth and their perception of the food environment and where they get their food at. So opening up a public shared use agreement has started to take place on Tacoma Public Schools land in East Tacoma at the Grandview Community Center, behind the Grandview Early Learning Center of the Puyallup Tribe. And again, I didn't start the beginning of this presentation recognizing the land in which the Tacoma and Pierce County Health Department works out of, and also where I work out of and live in Pierce County on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish people, the Puyallup Tribe, and given recognition that through ideas of resource stewardship development, food security may be possible in other avenues. So there is food procurement. We do understand that food resource development and relationships may be a viable alternative to our current, post or current pandemic, and how we might look at a post-pandemic in ways. So looking at really at a situation of what COVID is presenting us is to think in alternative ways. We know gardens work and Victory Gardens work to a point, right? But this is not putting all the food demand in one area on grocery stores, or the federal government for limitation on EBT dollar amount. We do find that people are running out of food or not having enough. So we're really just looking, and again, within the scope of SNAP education, how can we work on local policies, systems, environmental changes with school districts, parks, our Washington State University partner on developing alternative resources that people advocate for and design themselves into their local communities. Again, this is a form of food security that is a little too late right now at the COVID question, but maybe this might be a viable solution moving forward. With that, I'll take any questions from anyone attending this presentation. Again, my name is Ulysses Martin, the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department. The last slide here has our contact information should you have any questions.
Ulysses, David Thompson.
Good day.
You know, the one thing I want to say is that bakery gardens in 1941 accounted for 40% of the domestic food production. I think we could really do something very well with the bakery gardens. I think it's something that really should be encouraged. That's it.
Any other questions from any of the attendees? Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Ulysses. Any other questions in general from attendees about any of the presentations that were provided tonight? No. Like I mentioned earlier, we will be sharing the recording of this, and there will be the PowerPoints that will be sent out in an email to not only those who were on the screen tonight, but everybody who RSVP'd for the meeting.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
I guess I'm trying to grapple here with what is how have we measured the need of the community? I guess I don't have a sense of how much need is out there. And there may be a lot. I'm not sure how we're measuring it and how this project is measuring it. I don't know. I'm just questioning myself here. So.
Fair question. Do you have a particular person you're asking that question of, or should we just ask all?
No, just in general. So.
Yeah. Do Kyle, Ulysses, or David, do any of you want to try to answer that question?
I can try to tackle that question. Are you talking about need of food security? Is that Patrick?
No, I guess I'm asking, what is the need in the community? In other words, I see a lot of food is free stands around, and I went by my neighbor's food is free stand because I needed a yellow onion for making a stew the other night, but I guess I'm not understanding who is measuring the need in the community, and if we're doing this stuff, who are we serving and why? And I'm not questioning that there's a need out there. I'm just wondering how the measurements are working, and I don't know, maybe I'm not being real clear, but.
Good afternoon. Good evening. This is Ulysses Martin, Tacoma and Pierce County Health Department. I don't think I have a specific response to your very direct question, which I do enjoy that question. How are we measuring the specific need? I think there's equity indexes. There are measurables where number of population within certain parts of Tacoma, specifically east side, is, you know, if there's 10,000 eligible SNAP Ed individuals based on their income. So it's an income kind of determines what might meet the need be. And in measuring need, I mean, there's other factors on the need. If we're specifically talking about food. So access for organic food, is that a need? Or is it just access for food in general, regardless? Is it and how much does housing impact, food cost? So I like the idea about who might be measuring that question. I think the University of Washington has put a COVID survey out, and I haven't gone over all the questions, but I think they are trying to measure the need. I mean, based on responses, right? It's like, who's going to volunteer a response to indicate if they're hungry or not? Is that a measurable, or how much protein, or, very intimate questions. What is the need? But I think it's more measured on income, assets, to try to give some kind of response to you. And the questions that our agency is asking, more specific to the east side, is more about what is equitable, what is innovative, and what is a healthy food environment, and not putting on how many people think that. But I think there's specific needs in different geographical areas in Tacoma that is linked to available income and resources. So very subjective question. I like that. I think that will bring in a lot of discussion about measuring, because it's like my need it might be based on how hungry I am today because I only ate one meal. I mean, so like asking, what is the need for specific foods, amount of foods, and is EBT resources, SNAP eligible participants, can they buy enough food? Is that lasting them a whole month? How many people in their homes? Is that the cost burden for transportation or food access? So there's a room for a lot of robust conversation on determining what individuals' needs is and communities' needs. So thank you for asking that question.
And I asked that question because, sorry, my dogs are bothering me here. I asked the question because when I look at these food stands, I'm not seeing food stands here in my neighborhood that are serving people that would otherwise go hungry. I'm seeing people putting up fruit stands on stuff they've grown, their own garden stuff, that say, come by and get some of this because you can make this really cool soup, or you can make this really cool stew, or you can, do this or that or the other thing. And those are wonderful things. I mean, I think that's a wonderful neighborhood. I mean, it's an aspect of my neighborhood that I appreciate. Like I said, I needed an onion the other day. But is this servicing what the real issue is of people that are hungry? And I'm questioning. I guess I'm not questioning. I'm asking if we are. I don't know. I'm kind of confused in my own thoughts here, but what problem are we trying to solve, and is what we're doing here with neighborhood food stands doing that?
I'd like to answer that.
Okay.
Well, the food stands, they're about building community. They're about giving the neighbors a chance to get to know each other and talk to each other and sharing food. But at the same time, they're located in many areas around Tacoma. I think what a lot of us don't think about is with COVID that has happened, that a lot of people are out of work. A lot of different income brackets are out of work right now. And I'll tell you, if you think about it, if you were a salesman and you were taking down, say, $1,500 a week and things were going good for you, you probably didn't have anything in your pantry. Chances are you went out and ate everything and you didn't have anything in your pantry. Now all of a sudden you're out of work. You're laid off. There's no unemployment. There's nothing coming in. You got to go eat out of your pantry, but you ain't got nothing in there. You've got no money. So what this food insecurity is hitting, it's hitting all income brackets right now. It's not just the smaller guys, just the low income people. It's hitting everybody. So the food is needed everywhere. The need is incredibly huge. To go through 38,000 pounds in under 10 hours for people giving food away is just, if you think about the need there, it's just incredible. And it's just going to get worse. We have food shortages that are coming. We already know they're going to come. The unemployment is all up in the air right now. We just know that if we don't do something right now and start taking care of the food security now, when it comes and hits us here in about 3 months, 4 months, we're really going to be in trouble.
Okay, I appreciate that point of view. I guess my question really was, I have no sense in my neighborhood, and I'm the Safe Streets director for this Safe Streets group in my Lincoln South area, but I have no sense that these stands are feeding. And maybe they are. Maybe I'm just being dense here, but I don't sense that they're feeding people that otherwise wouldn't eat. And if that's not the case, and if it's just people wanting to share the stuff they're growing, heck, that's great, because frankly, I can't grow anything, honestly. So if my neighbors are sharing the things they grow with their neighbors, then Jiminy, what's wrong with that? Nothing. I guess I'm just trying to grapple with the whole scope of what problem we're trying to deal with, and it's hard for me to grapple with a problem if I don't understand all the aspects of it. So that's where my question was coming from. So, but thank you for your comments. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Pat. Roxanne, question or comment as far as that Pat's question was concerned?
So mine is just a comment to Patrick. So I live out here on the Key Peninsula. So we don't have this program that is in Tacoma, but we do have communities out here where people have the gardens and they do the same thing. They put out tables with fruits or vegetables that they have that are extras. So it's the same thing where you're talking about, they'll say, well, here's a recipe or something. But the mindset there is so that people aren't feeling embarrassed or even ashamed that they need this. It's a way to make people feel better about themselves, about going out and getting whatever fruits or vegetables that are there that they can take home and use to feed their families with. Because it's all about community. So that's the sense that we get out here. It's about taking care of your neighbors, taking care of your community. Just because we don't have, we're rural, I guess. So it's just, and we've had a greater need out here. We have the food backpack for kids that is actually feeding families and not just the kids. And that program will continue. And they are going to the schools. So the families are coming to the schools to pick up. We have a lot of families experiencing homelessness out here as well that aren't counted, haven't been counted, but they know where they can go in order to pick up food for their families. So that program is different, but it's still the same. Families are being taken care of out here. That's it for me.
Thank you, Roxanne, because I'm not insensitive to exactly what you're
Right.
saying. I'm
Right.
really not. I'm trying to understand what the scope of the issues are.
Right.
So
Yeah, and Patrick,
thank you for those comments. I appreciate it.
I also do appreciate the question that you posed because it does address a larger issue, right? Of how do you, what does that need look like? Because how can you reframe that question? Or, there's so many different ways to answer it. And Roxanne, you touched on something that was great. It was all about like community health outcomes, right? Making sure your neighborhood, if you want to make sure your neighborhood is safe, one of the first steps is maybe an awareness that these things exist. And then what I like about, and I'm just going to connect to a bunch of different people, with David, your Food is Free project, I never heard about that until COVID hit, when I was passing out free garden seeds in the springtime. And I heard about that through Facebook, or a community member told me about that and said, just go on Facebook, do that stuff. And so there's also that aspect where social media has a huge impact, right, on making sure people are aware and how we can then destigmatize that food should be a basic right or all that stuff for anyone.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions from anybody or comments?
No questions on my end, but like Linda said on her chat, if you would like to email me, I'm very open to talking about this. We can do a one-on-one. It's more preferable, in my opinion, than doing a big presentation like this. I will put a pitch, though, that with SNAP Ed providers, we are really diligently working on promoting virtual education. So if you were interested in sort of nutrition education through a virtual platform, and I will say that it's more of like a sort of a networking community like connection type of stuff, feel free to reach out to me as well. Happy to set you up on, or have one of our educators, converse. And yeah.
Awesome, Kyle. Thank you. That sounds like a really great resource. Really quickly, there are two things that I would like to share about other resource food options that are available to people living around Pierce County. One of them is Safe Streets has a program right now that we're calling Waste Wizards. So the waste part comes from, we're providing litter cleanup supplies to groups around Pierce County. No affiliation with our Safe Streets groups is required. There's an application that's online where any community member can go, they can apply for supplies to do a community litter cleanup, or they can also apply for supplies to build their own garden that they're willing to share food with their neighbors from, or rent a plot at a local community garden, or start their own community garden. I myself had one group that is in the Midland area that they started a community garden at their apartment complex. They're starting off small the end of the summer, but then their hope is to begin expanding that next year. So there's, even though it's still, we're looking into the fall months, there's still options for some fall, planting that you would be able to get started, or wintertime is always a great time to prep for a garden for the next growing season. So if you are interested in doing something like that, you can apply for that, the materials for those two programs. Another option right now too is I mentioned earlier, I work out in Eastern Pierce County, and there's a nonprofit out there that I do a lot of collaborative work with called Building Beyond the Walls. And they do a lot of construction skills training. And one of the things that they have been doing to try and maintain their status as a nonprofit throughout COVID, they applied for some grant funding to build what are called little food pantries very similar to the Little Libraries program that exists nationally, but instead of doing books, you do food, and you can do fresh produce or non-perishable items in these food pantries. And the way that she has it set up is there's enough funding for people to apply to get a kit to build the little pantry for free. The only requirement is that you provide pictures of the pantry going in and that you register it with the National Little Pantry database. And she has, the materials are all provided and given to you. If you don't have any construction skills, they've got an instruction manual as well as an instructional video that explains how to set it up. And I believe there's an application process that she has, but it's, yeah, thanks Wanda. She mentioned the kits are worth $300 each. And is that the Safe Streets kits or the Building Beyond the Walls kits?
I'm sorry, it's the second one.
Great, cool. No, thank you. Yeah, so it's a really awesome opportunity. She's got 5 different people who have applied for those so far, and it can be an individual community member or it could be an organization. So she's had a church that's applied. She's had, I think they're talking about putting one at a youth center out in the Buckley area. And those are, again, those are available to anybody who lives in Pierce County. So yes, I will put the contact information for Sue's nonprofit in the chat box. With that, if there are any other questions or comments or other food resources that anybody would like to share about.
I think we ought to give a poke at Darren Penn for giving flowers instead of giving a picture. So I'm just saying. Love you, Darren.
Before Darren, oh, go ahead, Darren.
I am in somewhere that I don't want you to see it, like. So, hey, Sarah, the question that Patrick brought up, it's just like there's many people ask me too. And I always quote what David have always shared about free food program and get to know your neighbor. And with the data they ask, do you think like this neighborhood needs this kind of food or what? But I like the information tonight, Sarah. Maybe we should put the video and also information on our station website, because it's better to know than you don't know. I learned a lot tonight. And I know that David have been doing a great job for how many years for this program. And I'm glad to see more popping up, even though in my neighborhood on the street, like 2 tables. And like I said, like 3 or 4 at the Blueberry Park and 2 or 3 like at Fern Hill area, which have not been seen at table before. But get the data, do we need it or not? Just like, I don't know, but there's probably the need out there. That's why many people are willing to put the table up. But I do appreciate that every time people post it up, I say, thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. And I know too, I mean, when David shared his pictures of the potatoes and the onion boxes that went out, we had a group that worked out in Prairie Ridge that drove in with a couple pickup trucks and picked up some boxes to take out and distribute in Prairie Ridge to especially some shut-in seniors that don't have the ability to get out and go grocery shopping right now. So
as a matter of, I was going to say, as a matter of fact, somebody dropped off some of those potatoes to our Bethel food drive. So, and that was serving the Bethel School District and Eatonville School District. So the reach is going far and wide. You may not see that, David, but it is truly remarkable.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, so the contact for the Little Food Pantries, her name is Sue Hart. She's the executive director of Building Beyond the Walls, and you can email her at sue@buildingbeyondthewalls.org, and that address is in the chat box. And if everybody doesn't know, if for some reason there's other contact info that's in the chat box, you can save a copy of the chat box to your personal computer or device.
Hey, Sarah.
Sarah, quick question.
Oh.
Is that Pantry food program here in Tacoma too?
Yep, it's available across Pierce County. You know, her heart is really for rural communities where there's a much stronger issue with getting access to fresh food for a lot of families, but she will provide pantries to people anywhere in Pierce County.
So David, is there a way to connect with that program, David, with your food? So connect it with them?
Yes, I'm very interested, Darren. I was just thinking about that myself. Maybe we can build pantries here, and we could work something out. I've got some plans going through my head right now.
Okay, and Kyle, I just want to say thank you with the coupon program. I think it's good sometimes to share that, to post it, and where to get it. If you have extra, maybe can give it to Safe Street and share with the group. Hey, if you know someone need extra food, or the people, especially give it to David when people give up the food on the table or put it at the table. Say, hey, extra food for the coupon for extra food at Safeway at Walmart. Who knows?
Yeah, totally. That's definitely there, right?
Yep.
Hey, Roxanne, or Sarah, I'm sorry. Hi, Roxanne. Sarah, I created a list of nourished food banks, both mobile and static. And we're going to, and it just says the name, the address, a phone number if it has one, in the days and times of service. So I just said all Pierce County, and it'll be attached to this recording and be sent out to everybody also.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that, Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
Ulysses, I was wondering if we have just a couple of minutes left, if you wanted to talk about the presentation you guys are doing, or the event you're doing in East Tacoma in September.
Yeah, this is Ulysses. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so definitely it's a snapshot of whoever has the opportunity to take the survey. It's very east side specific, as you can tell. Survey sounds like more about urban agriculture, but it's not intended to be that way solely. So we're hopefully getting some participants to kind of broaden the discussion, give everyone a chance to look at the current data captured at this point in time, and give us some percentage of who's participating and not, looking at responses, and maybe going a little bit deeper dive on. So it could be intended as maybe a type of focus group. You could maybe view it that way. It's not intended to, but it's definitely on a quarterly conversation that we are trying to have. So we're trying to do quarterly snapshots. So this is our first snapshot, a point in time where we can actually build off this for the remainder of the year. And I know despite COVID, it's not a very easy topic to deal with that may be sensitive to others or maybe not irrelevant and people, but we are having the opportunity to start this in September and move forward again for 2020 and 2021. And hopefully by the end of this, quarterly snapshots and then building hopefully a different data set that would allude to something that may be something that we all can, again, multi-sector partnerships is the goal out of these conversations, and advocate for the people, whoever they may be. This is intended for SNAP eligible participants or SNAP eligible population, that they can see themselves in these conversations and partake in these conversations themselves to direct how we change the policy systems, environmental changes, as I've talked about in this presentation. So hopefully you could, again, thank you for sharing the survey out. And if you feel that you live, work, and play in East Tacoma, please, by all means, fill out that survey for us as well. Thank you.
Wonderful, thanks, Ulysses. All right, everybody, if there's no other questions or comments, that concludes the evening's presentations.
Can I make one comment?
Yes, please, David.
I've got a new program that I'm going to be starting next year. It'll be using the unapproved right-of-ways in Tacoma. I'm working with one of the city council members to do this. I'm hoping to work with Safe Streets in order to build these little community gardens and have it tended by Safe Streets volunteers. So it's something that I'm putting out right now. If somebody would like to discuss this more with me, please email me, and I'd like to talk more about this, and it's definitely something that I want to put together next spring.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm sure somebody from Safe Streets will be reaching out. Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending, giving your time and presenting. Really, really appreciate it. Again, there will be an email coming out from me with access to the presentations, the survey that Ulysses mentioned, as well as the flyer about the event that Ulysses is talking about in East Tacoma. So appreciate all of your time. Thank you, and hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank
Sarah,
you so much. Have a good afternoon.
Sarah, when we're done with the video, I will send it out to 190 people that I sent it out. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you, Darren.
Yeah.